Wow! What a tornado!
Tornadoes are unpredictable.
Back the f*** up!
Volatile.
The whole country looked like it was in a nuclear blast of some type.
And lethal.
I kept talking to myself, thinking, well, this is it.
They leave behind obliterated towns.
There were no houses left. They were all gone.
And bewildered scientists.
It's not an exact science.
Each tornado is unique, most dangerous, a few deadly. From the tremendous to the terrifying to the tragic, this is a countdown to an ultimate tornado, one that experts believe will devastate a major American city. The most ominous tornado warning comes when an apocalyptic-like darkness fills the sky. These clouds are precursors to a powerful storm, a supercell. Most tornadoes form when a violently rotating column of air stretches down from that supercell to touch the Earth. Surprisingly, relatively little is known about these giant killers. Scientists are literally chasing the mysteries of tornadoes across the Great Plains of the United States, better known as Tornado Alley. More than 400 tornadoes threaten to wreak a path of destruction here every year, far more than any other place in the world. The main reason? Ideal atmospheric conditions.
The mountains to the west, the Gulf of Mexico to the south, and the fact that there are no physical barriers between here and the North Pole means that we are frequently changing air masses from warm to cold and back again.
Tornadoes are measured using the F scale, F for Dr. Theodore Fujita, who classified tornado strength by estimating wind speed based on devastation. The smallest twisters are F-zeros. They can reach 116 kilometers per hour, about the equivalent of a small hurricane. At the other end of the scale are F5s, whose winds reach speeds of up to 512 kilometers per hour.
Back up! Back up! Keep going, keep going, keep going!
The tornadoes profiled here rise up the Fujita scale from an F2 that rips the roof off a house.
Did you see that?
To an F5 that lays waste to an entire neighborhood. It's all leading up to an ultimate tornado, one that some scientists fear will ravage a primary city. "111 kilometers southwest of Wichita lies the small town of Attica, Kansas. Just over 600 people live here. It's a town you could easily miss. On May 12, 2004, a tornado didn't. On that day, the blue skies over Harper County fill with storm clouds. Shortly after 6 p.m., Dan Smithheisler heads into Attica.
I did some work for the banker in there. And I told his wife, I said, you know, it's going to storm today.
Several thunderstorms form over southern Kansas. One look at these storms tells 30-year veteran meteorologist Chuck Doswell they might be a breeding ground for tornadoes.
One of the important ingredients that produces a tornado that we're pretty sure is the wind at low levels has to change direction and speed rapidly with height. We call that vertical wind shear.
The vertical wind shear typically spins the air into an invisible cylinder. As the wind speed increases, it rises, the tornado intensifies, and the core pressure drops. Condensation from the dropping pressure builds down the funnel, creating a visible tornado. That's exactly what's happening in the southern Kansas sky. Harper County Emergency Management Director Mike Lorig gets the first tornado warning at 6:45.
About 7:25 in the evening, a F2 tornado had made it to ground right up here just on this hill. The path of it was right across here.
As Lohreg watches in astonishment, the tornado tears the roof off a home directly in front of him.
Oh my God! Oh my God! The whole house came apart!
This act of violence is just one of many. The angry skies over Kansas are far from finished. Storm chasers tracking the Kansas supercell relay information to meteorologists using mobile Doppler radar. They report the tornado's wind speed, location, and one other startling fact: the storm is producing multiple tornadoes.
It can be a very dangerous situation because often people will be looking at the main tornado and feeling that as long as they're far enough away or they've taken cover that they should be completely safe.
Her team and others report seeing 16 tornadoes. They vary significantly in size and power. The biggest is an F4, roughly 160 kilometers per hour faster and with corresponding wind force about 3 times larger than an F2. The F4 heads straight for Dan and Donna Smith-Heisler's home.
I was listening to the radio and the TV, and they had it exactly pinpointed. They knew exactly where it was at.
Knowing a tornado's path gives potential victims an average of 12 minutes warning, enough time to save their lives. The Smith-Heislers get the warning, but Dan ignores it. Mesmerized by the golf ball-sized hail that often precedes a tornado, he refuses to join his wife down in the basement.
That scared me, and so I started screaming at him to get down, and the dog would not come down. He said, well, Sugar won't come. And she was going in the door, out the door, in the door. Dogs are smart. They know. So when I screamed at Sugar, then she came down. He came down.
The tornado batters Dan and Donna's home with winds estimated at more than 322 kilometers per hour.
And that's when I got hit on the head with cement or something, you know. I can still hear myself groan. All of a sudden, you're just going to, like, go with it. And that's where I was when he said, we're not going to make it. And that woke me up. And I said, oh, yes, we are too, you know. And you pray really hard.
The savage winds rip unrelentingly over the Smith-Heislers' home. When they finally stop, the couple emerge from their basement and into a war zone.
And I thought, where's the car? And then my next thought was, where's the garage?
The twister destroyed the couple's 2-story home, 5 barns, dismantled 5 cars, and killed their dog, Sugar. The Smith-Heislers are lucky to be alive. With estimated wind speeds near 400 kilometers per hour, the F4 tornado easily destroyed their home. But even the earlier F2, with winds estimated at 240 kilometers per hour, was capable of ripping the roof off this home. Complex physics transform air into a lethal force, a concept scientists are laboring to understand.
What we are trying to do is simulate the tornado as best as we can. So we're actually comparing the wind which we generate here with the measurements made in the field. And the match is pretty good.
Sarka's tornado simulator is the first of its kind in the world. It uses dry ice to create a visual display of the wind inside a vortex. His machine can produce tornadoes up to 1.2 meters in diameter and 2.4 meters tall. It can reach peak wind speeds of 86 kilometers per hour. When combined with scale models, he's able to replicate damage much larger and faster tornadoes inflict on homes and other structures.
Normally, a portion of the roof fails and create a hole in the building, which then the flow starts getting inside, which then creates more load on the walls, and eventually those walls start failing.
Sarka's experiments conclude that the destructive force of circulating wind in an F3 or stronger tornado is at least 3 times more powerful than straight-line winds. Since few structures in Tornado Alley are designed to withstand even an F1's winds, this is stark proof that even the weakest tornado is capable of causing damage. The The residents of Attica were thankful to have survived the fury of the 16 tornadoes that struck southern Kansas. But when a single F4 twister strikes a small Texas town, its bizarre behavior and surprising power threatens to destroy the entire city. And later, an ultimate tornado strikes a major American city, something experts say will happen. In 2004, a single Kansas storm produced a swarm of tornadoes that ravaged homes, destroyed property, and terrorized hundreds. But the power and damage of that outbreak was far surpassed by the stunning force and unpredictable behavior of a single Texas twister. Pampa, Texas has had its share of luck. The town has prospered since oil was discovered here in 1921. Today, 17,000 residents work the hard soil, farming, ranching, and refining oil. But the town's location in the Texas Panhandle is also its biggest flaw. This is tornado country. On the afternoon of June 8, 1995, Pampa's luck ran out. Randy Stubblefield is a lifelong resident of Pampa. In his 2 years as sheriff, he's seen his share of violence, but nothing compares to what he's about to confront.
About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call that there was a large tornado was building on the south side of the Amarillo Highway, just about 1.5 miles from where we're standing now.
Stubblefield grabs his camcorder and rushes towards the twister.
I watched it building on the farmland on the north side of the railroad tracks, and it just started building, getting bigger and bigger.
Meteorologist Chuck Doswell is also chasing and filming the Pampa tornado.
The evolution of the Pampa tornado with respect to the parent thunderstorm was very unusual in my experience. I've never seen anything quite like it.
What Doswell sees is remarkable. The tornado is almost standing still.
Impossible to tell what's going on in here.
Then, suddenly, the tornado makes a sharp right turn. This odd behavior stuns Doswell.
Tornadoes move in a particular direction because they're tied to the storm that's producing them. And the storm that's producing them moves in a particular direction because it's embedded in a wind field which is pushing it in that direction.
But the Pampa tornado isn't moving in the same direction as the storm. After a series of sharp turns, the twister loops almost 270 degrees around Doswell. These erratic and unpredictable movements make this a very dangerous tornado.
Let's go. And I am completely mystified as to what was going on with that storm.
Then it started traveling north. Get everybody inside, because this is one big son of a bitch. And hit a industrial complex.
Belinda Waldrop works in that complex with her father. She isn't listening to the news.
I learned that there was a tornado outside the building when my dad came to the door of the office I was in and said, "Belinda, there's a tornado on the ground west of us." I'm curious. I said, "Can we look at it?" And he said, "Oh, no, we don't need to look at it. We need to get under some cover."
Belinda and her father dive for shelter as the twister slams towards them.
You could hear the tornado approaching. It was like a gyrating woof woof, just a churning that just got gradually more intense and louder. The lights began to flicker as the pressure was building, and then the lights went out.
Whenever you first started seeing the real debris, the metal, the rooftops and all that, that's when it hit the first series of steel buildings in the industrial complex.
And then an explosion. The vacuum just took me up off the floor, and slammed me into numerous things and was pulling me backward like a rag doll.
You're going to see some vehicles going into the air. Transport trailers and truck combination. Now these units weigh probably 22,000 pounds empty. These were sucked up and in the tornado and were going around and around.
Stubblefield and Goswell are among the few to ever film a tornado snatching up 3-ton trucks. This is a massively powerful twister, one that has Belinda Waldrop trapped in its ferocious grip.
When I was in it, everything's dark, and I just tried to keep my eyes closed to protect my eyes. I kept talking to myself, thinking, well, this is it.
And at that time, I just had a feeling of helplessness because there's nothing you can do. I mean, there's no way you can stop it, or make it go another direction or anything like that. And it was just a sick feeling.
They had dropped me out here into the parking lot and just dropped me on my back, and I could see the cloud and the tornado. It looked like a white ghost just going up and taking off.
Belinda's encounter with the tornado is over, but Randy's is just beginning.
But when I realized that he was going to go into the city of Pampa,
Stubblefield jumps back into his car and races down the road, directly into the path of the tornado.
One of my deputies gets on the air and says, watch out, you're too close. You know you're too close when debris starts coming in the car with you. I had my windows down and the trash from the circulation was coming into the car with me.
It's going into the city at this time.
It was headed right straight for the sheriff's office and the